Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good day, everyone. So, today we'll continue with chapter 7, animation. Okay, and this is what we are going to learn in chapter 7, Introduction to Animation, Principles of Animation, Animation by Computer, Animation File Format, Animation Tools, and also Animation Production. Alright, class. So let's take a quick look at what animation really means. Okay, first of all, animation is the act of making something come alive. Okay, that means we take something still like an image or a drawing, okay, and give it life through movement and expression. Um, and it is also concerned with the visual or aesthetic aspect of the project. So since animation is a visual medium, it is also very much about how things look. So we need to really take care of the colors, style, design, and how this object move on the screen. So this is what we call as the aesthetic aspect. Okay. And another key point is animation is all about movement. It could be something entering, okay, moving across, or exiting the screen. Okay, so that movement is what keeps the story flowing and keeps the audience engaged. So it's very important on how we manage, okay, how the object is moving in our scene. Another key, but how does this work? Okay, how does this work? So it thanks to two interesting effects. The first one is persistence of vision. Okay, this is actually a biological effect where our eyes hold onto an image for a split second. The second one is see phenomenon. Okay, this is actually a psychological effect where our brain fills in the gap between still image and make them look like smooth motion. And so finally, animation is made by showing a series of images very quickly. So each one slightly different from the last one. This creates the illusion of movement like how cartoons or flip books appear to move. Okay. Next, let's look at the types of animation space. Okay, there are three types of animation speed or animation can be rendered in these three speeds. Okay. The first one is 2D space. So this is the most basic animation speed. So everything here is flat. Okay, it only has height and width. There is no depth. So movement is very simple to the left, right, up and down. And you have probably seen these classic cartoons or comics, for example, Kampung Boy. Okay. The second one is 2.5D space. So this one is interesting. Okay. It looks like 3D, but it is actually 2D image. Okay. But it has the illusion of depth created through shadowing, highlighting, and also forced perspective. Okay. Um, Actually, why they use this 2.5D, the illusion of shadow and everything, because we have to make a 3D full, okay, a full 3D model. In terms of difficulties, definitely easier than 3D animation. The third one is 3D space. Okay, this is full 3D animation where the object has height, width, and also depth. Okay, just like in real life. Example, Bobo Boy the movie, Agent Ali the movie. Okay, so for example, for this Bobo Boy or Agent Ali the movie, the character moves very naturally. Okay, the environment looks real, and the animation quality is I think on par with the international production. So to summarize this animation space, we can say that 2D is flat and simple. 2.5D it adds some visual tricks to look deeper, to feel deeper, and 3D is full realistic and immersive. Okay, so that is for types of animation. Okay. So let's move to principle of animation. So there are some types of principle of animation. We need to take care of the animation process, cell and fast animation, and also computer animation. Okay, so let's go over the basic steps in creating an animation project. So whether you are making a short animation or a full film, this process, these steps usually we follow this step. You need to follow this step. Okay, either you have a small scale or large scale of animation project. The first one is organize the execution in a series of logical steps. So before jumping in, you need to plan. Planning is very important. Okay, that means we need to outline the storyline, create a storyboard, decide on the themes, and setting up a timeline. What should be in our project? Okay, so good planning actually helps us to avoid any confusion later and make the work structure. So in your case, you need to start with a storyboard, for example. Number two is choose an animation tool best suited for the job. Okay. Um, for example, if you are doing a simple 2D animation, like for your project, the suitable tool should be Adobe Animate. Or you can also use Toon Boom. But then in our syllabus, you need to use Animate. Okay. So it's very ideal to use that software. So for example, for 3D, you may use Blender or Maya. Okay, example. And then the third one is build and tweak the sequence. Okay, so now comes the actual animation work. You will create the scenes, the add keyframe, animate the characters, and make sure the motion look very natural and smooth. Okay. And the fourth one is post-process the completed animation. So once the animation is done, you move to the final touch-up stage. Okay, so uh, including this process, including when you want to add the sound effect, the background music, voice over, okay, any effect, and also rendering the final video. So this post-processing helps polish your animation and make it ready to present or publish. Next is cell animation. Okay, cell animation is a traditional animation technique where each frame is drawn by hand. Okay, uh, draw it by hand on transparent sheet called cell. That's why it comes um, where the term comes from. Okay, cell animation. So it creates motion by using a series of progressively different drawings shown in sequence. Okay, like what you do for flipbook. You draw, okay, it's different character, different positions, and then you flip it. Okay, for example. So the process starts with keyframe, which mark the beginning and an end of an action. Okay, so in between frames, okay, the in between frames called as tween, then fill during the spinning process. Okay, so which shows the movement between keyframe. Like what we do, we have keyframe at frame number one and another keyframe at frame number 30, for example, and in between we create the twin. For example, we use straight motion twin, straight classic twin. Okay, and then after that, a pencil touch is done to preview the animation and check for smoothness. Itu adalah example. Okay, twinning tadi tu I bagi contoh example. But then for this one, definitely they need to do it by hand. Okay. Okay, the second one is computer animation. Okay, so computer is animation is very similar to cell animation where each frame was drawn by hand, but um, one big difference is we use software to make the process faster and easier. Okay, so instead of drawing every single frame, the animator just set the important position or keyframe. We only have two positions. For example, we draw it first and then we put it on the first keyframe and the second keyframe. So in between, we use the computer, we use the software to create the classic scene or motion scene. Yang tadi contoh start animation, Megan bagi contoh satu. But for this one, for computer animation, yes, we create the cleaning process tu bukan secara hand drawing. Kita menggunakan, we use the software. We create the motion scene, create the classic scene, for example. So, which means the computer helps to automatically fill in the motion, fill in the motion in the between of that two keyframes. Okay. Now let's look at some key techniques used in computer animation. The first one is kinematics. So this is all about how things move, especially joint structure like arms, legs, or even robots. Okay, it helps us make sure the movement looks natural. The second one is inverse kinematics.